I was the firstborn, the helper, the one who never made waves. I gave my family everything: time, money, my silence. But when my sister was born, I became the risk, the shadow they stopped seeing. For years, I poured love into a home that forgot my name. Until one Thanksgiving, when the truth spilled out, and I broke the silence they'd taken for granted. What happens when the daughter who gave it all becomes the one they can't ignore? I'm Isabel, raised in a Wisconsin town so small the lake froze by Halloween, and the downtown was just a diner with sticky booths, a hardware store smelling of nails, and a church with a crooked steeple. You could walk it before your coffee cooled. Neighbors left pies on porches, and everyone knew you by your scarf's knot. Winters bit hard, snowbanks taller than me, wind tearing through wool, but my childhood glowed like a hearth, warmed by my family. We lived in a greenhouse with white shutters and a porch swing that sang in the summer breeze. Dad taught physics at the high school, his sweaters chalk-dusted, a quiet hero to kids who hated math. Mom worked night shifts as a nurse, her laughter soft but bright at dawn. We weren't rich. Our station wagon coughed louder than it ran, but we had enough. On warm evenings, we'd share Neapolitan ice cream drizzled with caramel on the porch, cicadas humming to Moon River. On Dad's old radio, its dial glowing amber. Those moments were a quilt, stitched with love. At 6, I thought I had the family others envied. Dad took me fishing every Saturday, even when I whined about the cold. "Patience, Izzy," he'd say, baiting my hook. "Good things come to those who wait." Mom brushed my hair before school, her hands gentle despite long shifts, slipping notes into my lunchbox. "You're my star, shine bright," with hearts inked in blue. When I was 5, I caught a fever, and Mom stayed by my bed all night, humming Unchained Melody, holding my hand until sunrise. I believed that love like that never faded. I was wrong. On Sundays, Dad would hum Moon River while flipping pancakes in his flannel pajamas, and we'd dance in the kitchen to the MAS*H theme, laughing over burn edges. Grandma would sit on the porch's rocking chair, thumping softly, knitting a scarf while reading the Sunday paper, her glasses slipping. We played Monopoly on Fridays, Dad faking defeat until I caught on. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. I felt seen, loved, chosen. Then came the night that broke it all. A freezing January, 1 week after my 8th birthday. I was asleep in my purple pajamas, dreaming of painting a sunset, when a knock jolted me awake. Headlights cut the dark. Aunt Evelyn stood in my doorway, snowflakes on her coat, her voice tight. "Isabel, honey," she said, forcing a smile. "Grab your coat. Your mom's at the hospital." The baby came early. The baby? I blinked, confused. "Emily," she said softly. "Your sister." I didn't grasp it. How fragile a premature infant was, how a tiny heartbeat could tilt a family's world. When I saw Emily, red, small, lost in wires in a plastic incubator, my heart swelled with awe. I reached out, wanting to give her Mom's warmth. Mom brushed my hand away, eyes on the monitor. "We can't risk her getting sick, Izzy," she said, her voice flat. That night, I stopped being the child they protected. I became the risk. And like the peppermint oil I dabbed on my wrists, I lingered in that house, sharp, unwelcome, but still there. That was the day I realized I was no longer the child they loved. I was the child they forgot. I clung to hope that things would return. I sat quietly at dinner, meatloaf and cherry pie cooling on the table, watching Mom and Dad hover over Emily, their voices low, counting her breaths. I told myself they were scared, that they'd see me once Emily was stronger. But days became weeks, weeks months, and my name faded from their voices. It was all Emily. The house turned sterile. Hand sanitizer bottles sprouted like weeds. Mom tossed out the throw pillows because they held dust. My favorite blanket, Grandma's gift, knit with love, vanished because fabric's a risk. The air smelled of bleach, not cookies. Our home was a fortress, Emily at its heart, me outside its gates. If I coughed, I was sent to Grandma's, no hugs, just a packed bag and Mom's distracted voice. "It's for safety, honey." Grandma's house was a refuge. Cherry pie on the counter, old books by vanilla candles. She'd sit me down, teach me to knit a scarf, her hands guiding mine. "Slow and steady, Izzy," she'd say, smiling. She kept my first drawing, a crooked house under a yellow sun, taped to her fridge, calling it my masterpiece. She was the only one who never forgot my birthday, slipping a handwritten card under my pillow with a $5 bill and a peppermint candy. But even at 8, I knew I was being sent to disappear. Each trip carved an ache, a longing for when I was the one they held. That Christmas, the living room glowed with lights, the tree heavy with ornaments. Emily got a dollhouse taller than the coffee table, its tiny windows gleaming. I got a $10 gift card taped to a Hallmark card. Mom patted my shoulder. "You're older now, Izzy. You understand." I did. I understood I wasn't worth wrapping paper. The hurt sank deep, a stone in my chest, sharper than the peppermint on my breath. I learned to move softly, speak only when spoken to. I slipped into rooms like a shadow, afraid my presence might break the balance. When I brought home a perfect math test, I waited until after dinner. "Look what I got," I said, placing it on the table. Mom glanced, nodded. "That's nice, Izzy." Then, to Dad. "Did you get tissues?" Emily's nose is runny. "Good job," Dad mumbled, eyes on his mug, voice hollow. I kept trying. I taped drawings in the hallway, hoping for a smile. They were gone by morning. I won the science fair and told Mom, heart racing. "That's nice," she said, stirring Emily's juice. I shared my love for Egyptian scarabs with Dad, how they meant rebirth. "Sounds interesting," he said, scrolling his phone. Everything drowned in Emily's needs. "Be quiet," Mom snapped, waving a hand. "Emily needs rest." My room became my sanctuary, the only place Emily wasn't allowed because my peppermint oil irritated her. I kept the door closed, not to shut them out, but to hold myself together. That sharp, cool scent was the last piece of me they couldn't take. They rewrote my story. "Isabel's so independent," Mom told neighbors when I joined the gifted program. "She understands Emily needs more." "No, Mom." I wanted to scream. "I don't understand. I never chose this." They called my silence strength, my absence maturity. But I was a little girl clutching a math test, heart begging to be seen. Sometimes, I'd stand before the photo on the mantel, me at 6, holding Dad's hand, smiling wide, Mom's arm around me, not Emily. I'd wonder, did they forget who I was or just stop needing me? And like the peppermint oil she hated, I lingered in that house, sharp, unwelcome, but still there. By 13, I stopped chasing their praise. It was like reaching for a star that had burned out. Affection was saved for Emily, her recitals, her fevers, her moods. I was the unseen thread. Never first, never celebrated, but expected to be everything. The loneliness stung, but it lit a fire. I wouldn't let their blindness define me. One crisp afternoon, I walked into Maple Pines Bakery, drawn by fogged windows and the scent of cherry pie. The bell chimed like a welcome. I approached Mrs. Lorraine, my voice small. "Are you hiring?" I asked. She studied my worn coat, my shy eyes. "Why's a kid like you want to mop floors, Isabel?" "I want to earn my own money," I said, unable to say. "Because I'm invisible at home. Because I need to be someone." She nodded, handed me an apron. "Start tomorrow," she said, her smile a lifeline. Every day after school, I tied my hair back, wiped tables, filled pie tins. The hum of ovens, the rhythm of flour-dusted counters, became my refuge. My first paycheck, $47.23, was proof I existed. I held it, tears pricking, the scent of peppermint on my sweater mixing with vanilla. I was still here. No one at home noticed. As long as I didn't disturb Emily or smell of bakery soap, I could vanish for hours. The realization cut, but it freed me. If they wouldn't see me, I'd build a world where I shone. I saved every dollar, hid tips in a coffee can, and drafted college applications beside the bakery's whipped cream dispenser. I didn't ask Mom for essay help or Dad for FAFSA advice. This was mine. Mrs. Lorraine became my guide. After closing, she read my essays, red pen gentle, a slice of pie in hand. "You write like you're sharing a secret," she said, eyes warm. "You're rare, Isabel. Don't let anyone dim you." Her words were a spark. One quiet evening, I visited Grandma, her rocking chair creaking as she knitted. I told her about the bakery, my dreams, my ache. She set her needles down, eyes steady. "They forgot to love you, child," she said softly. "But you, don't forget to love yourself." Her words sink deep, a compass for my heart. Their neglect wouldn't be my limit. I applied to 12 colleges in secret, pouring my heart into every essay. I chased scholarships, first generation, merit, need-based, checking every box, meeting deadlines. I saved for bus tickets to interviews, ironed second-hand blouses in the bakery, treating them like silk. Each step was a vow. I was enough. One spring day, an email arrived, a full-ride scholarship to Northwestern, art history major. I stood in the bakery, vanilla and peppermint swirling, and cried, not from fear, but from being chosen. My heart sang, sharp and bright. I showed Mom the letter, hope trembling. She barely looked up. "Congratulations, Izzy," she said, scribbling a grocery list. "Don't tell Emily. She's stressed about dance." The sting was old, but it didn't break me. That night, in my peppermint-scented room, I sat on the floor with a sketch pad, drawing our old house, white shutters, porch swing, the warmth I'd lost. My pencil trembled. I'd worked so hard, but their indifference felt like a wall I'd never climb. For a moment, I wondered if I should stop trying, if I should let their silence win. But as the peppermint filled my lungs, I tore the sketch in half. I wasn't done. I slipped the scholarship letter into my pocket, resolve steel, and whispered, "They may not see me now, but I will shine." And like the peppermint oil she hated, I lingered, sharp, unwelcome, but still there. Have you ever felt invisible in your own home? If so, this next part is for you. I started at Northwestern quietly, no fanfare. No road trip send-off, no teary hugs. Dad loaded my suitcase, not asking about my dorm. Mom mentioned allergy pills for Emily. Emily waved, texting her dance coach. The indifference hurt, but it didn't stop me. I was stepping into light. College was a world without Emily's shadow. Professors called me curious, sharp, alive, not the responsible one. I devoured lectures on Victorian symbolism, wrote essays until dawn, studied brooch designs like they held secrets. They did. Each discovery unearthed a piece of me, buried but glowing. I began sketching again, filling notebooks with images of our old house, the porch swing, the lake at dusk. Each stroke was a step toward healing, a way to reclaim the girl they forgot. The further from home, the clearer I saw the ache I'd carried, the love I'd lost. I graduated with honors, a quiet smile, no one clapping just for me. The absence was familiar, but I stood tall, heart full of my own light. After college, I took an unpaid internship at a Chicago jewelry appraisal firm. Friends chased finance jobs, posting selfies in skyscrapers. I slipped on white gloves, bent over scratched lockets, heart racing at a delicate engraving. I started collecting small antiques, a tarnished ring, a chipped cameo, each one a story I could save. Something sparked when I saw what others missed, their stories mingling with the peppermint on my wrists. 6 months in, a brooch arrived, labeled costume jewelry, tossed among plastic pearls. My heart paused. The enamel was too perfect, the engraving too fine. A faint hallmark stirred a memory from a textbook. I stayed up past midnight, poring over archives, emailing a French museum. The next morning, I faced Margaret, my supervisor. "This is a pre-war original," I said, hands steady. "From Marcel Lenoir. One of the last before his studio was bombed in 1941. She raised an eyebrow. "You sure, Isabel?" "Positive," I said, heart pounding. Silence, then a clap, then curiosity. The brooch sold for $40,000 at auction. My name appeared in the newsletter. Isabel identified a rare Lenore piece. One sentence, a beacon. Overlooked items found my desk. A Russian pendant, called a fake, was a pre-revolution noble piece. A platinum ring, thought modern, was one of 30 made for a 1892 Boston anniversary. Each artifact whispered, and I listened, heart swelling. Margaret took me to lunch, her pearls gleaming. Ever thought about going solo? She asked. I laughed. Me? The ramen girl who climbs 4 flights because the elevator's broken. The hungriest hearts find their rarest treasures, she said, eyes steady. Her words sank deep. That night, I opened Grandma's notebook, its pages smelling of peppermint and dust. Her cursive glowed. It's not the jewel that holds value, it's the eye that recognizes it. She'd written beneath, God sees what the world overlooks. Maybe that's why I still believed in grace, even when the world forgot to say thank you. Tears fell. If they couldn't see me, I'd become undeniable, not with noise, but with quiet proof. And like the peppermint oil she hated, I lingered, sharp, unwelcome, but still there. I opened my first office on a rainy Tuesday, alone in a 300-square-foot room in Milwaukee, between an Italian cafe and a shuttered dentist. The desk wobbled, the windows stuck, but it was mine. I named it Iris. Iris for the flowers Mom once grew, back when she saw me. I didn't tell my parents. They thought I worked for someone else doing antique stuff. They never asked. I never offered. They weren't part of my light. While Emily drifted through majors, communications, psychology, art therapy, I built something real. I started small. Estate jewelry, pawn shop verifications, evaluations for family businesses. I charged less, worked harder, checked every clasp twice. Clients trusted me because I cared, as if each piece held a heart. Word spread. 2 years in, I hired Maya, a geology grad with sharp eyes. I taught her to spot handmade cuts, to trust her gut. By year 5, Iris had offices in Milwaukee, Minneapolis, and Denver. We handled million-dollar auctions, rediscovered collections in attics and safes. Our work shaped the heritage market. My net worth hit $12 million by 30. I lived simply. Modest home, old SUV, same college handbag, not to hide, but because my worth was in my heart, not things. Every month, I sent my parents $7,000, labeled family support. Every time I transferred the money, I told myself, not because they deserve it, but because I still want to be their daughter somehow. Emily was at Parsons, chasing interior design, my old dream, one I let go because we couldn't afford it. Mom called, voice heavy. Parsons is expensive, Izzy, she said. Can you help more? How much? I asked, heart tight. $7,000 monthly. Until she graduates. I agreed, not because they deserved it, but because part of me hoped they'd see me. At Sunday dinners, I was unseen. Mom raved about Emily's projects. Dad bragged about her internships. I wore a duchess's pearl necklace, its weight a comfort, and no one noticed. Emily smirked one night, twirling her fork. Got enough vintage stuff to open a shop yet, Izzy? I smiled, poured my wine. Maybe one day. The ache fueled me. When Emily posted her new BMW. Hard work pays off. The crack widened. Mom called, glowing. She's doing so well, on her own. That car cost $90,000. Emily hadn't worked in years. The money was mine, sent in silence. That's great, Mom, I said, voice steady. But inside, I was done letting them paint me as the one who needed them. And like the peppermint oil she hated, I lingered, sharp, unwelcome, but still there. I hadn't planned to host Thanksgiving. I wanted a cabin, a journal, a holiday without pretending. But Mom called, her voice frail. I'm not well, Izzy. No one's up to cooking. We're looking forward to you. I knew the pull to be reliable. So I said yes, heart heavy, but steady. I hired Chicago's best caterers, the ones behind my company's auctions. Not for show, but for a meal that felt worthy. Cranberry glazed turkey, roasted squash, herb stuffing, and cherry pie like Grandma's, its crust golden. The table glowed under candlelight, a gift to myself. I paused, looking at the pie, remembering when Mom baked one just for me at 7 because I'd aced a spelling test. The memory stung, soft and sharp. The room hummed, clinking glasses, murmurs, but a heaviness grew. Emily leaned toward Mom, her whisper sharp. Trying to impress someone, Izzy? Or just making sure everyone knows you're better than us? I smiled, calm. I'm just making sure I remember who I am. The air tightened, forks scraping plates, eyes darting. I slipped upstairs to check a Tokyo auction. My laptop glowed. $12.6 million balance, $400,000 contract. My name as CEO. A folded letter slipped out, Grandma's handwriting, left in my coat pocket months before her passing. My Izzy, you've always been my light. Don't let them dim you. I see you always. Tears pricked, but I steadied myself. Emily barged in. Got a charger? She asked, then grabbed my laptop. What's this? She ran downstairs, voice sharp. Guys, look what Izzy's doing on Thanksgiving. She turned the screen. Silence fell, cold and sharp, the room holding its breath. Mom laughed nervously. She's helping someone, right? I stood, smoothed my sleeves, heart pounding but calm.
No, Mom.
I'm not helping someone. I'm someone. I'm the CEO of Iris. I built it from nothing. For 6 years. Aunt Linda's spoon clinked. Dad paled. Emily dropped the laptop. You have that money? Emily's voice shook. And you didn't tell us? I've sent you $7,000 every month for 2 years, I said to my parents. You never asked where it came from. Mom's eyes widened, hand trembling. Dad stared at the table. You let us struggle, Emily shouted. You're my sister. We share. No, Emily, I said, clear.
You take.
I share. Quietly, generously. Until now. Dad's voice rose. Families share, Isabel. They do, I said, soft but firm. But not just money. Love, respect, acknowledgement. I haven't felt that in a decade. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you tell us? Because I learned to live with being invisible. I turned to Emily. You mocked my work, told friends I lived off Mom and Dad. You used my money for a car and called it your success. I'm not here to shame you, I said. I'm here to stop being erased. I pulled out my phone, canceled the transfers. The room erupted, shouts, tears, words like selfish, cold. But I stood still, a rare stone among glass. Days later, I woke to a notification. Emily had posted online calling me the greedy sister who abandoned us. Comments piled up, neighbors, cousins, strangers, painting me as cold. The betrayal stung, sharp as peppermint on a cut. But the tide turned. Old classmates, bakery customers, a former teacher commented, Isabel's the kindest person I know. She built an empire while helping her family. Emily's post backfired, her words drowned in support for me. I could have let it burn. Instead, I sent a private message to a local reporter. My sister's struggling.
Please don't pile on.
Family's complicated, but I don't hate her. I didn't need revenge. My truth was enough. A week later, a letter arrived from Aunt Linda, her handwriting shaky. I saw your laptop, Isabel. I'm ashamed I didn't see you sooner. I'm here if you need me. Mom's voicemail followed, voice trembling. I didn't realize how much we hurt you. Can we talk? I didn't call back, not yet. But I saved it. I walked out that Thanksgiving, snow falling soft. Driving through Wisconsin's quiet roads, I caught my reflection in the mirror and smiled. A real smile, born of freedom. Months later, I opened a gallery in Chicago, Peppermint Light, showcasing forgotten artifacts and my sketches, each piece infused with a sharp, clear scent of my resilience. On opening night, a girl, maybe 10, stood before a locket, her eyes wide, like mine at her age. I knelt beside her. You're not forgotten, sweetie, I whispered. You're just waiting to be found. I used to think love had to be earned. Now I know real love sees you, even when you say nothing. If you've ever felt forgotten in your own family, tell us. What helped you choose your own light? Isabel's story shows strength grows in quiet moments, but it deserves to shine. For those who've sacrificed dreams or felt unseen, her journey offers these lessons. Choosing yourself is survival, not selfishness. Boundaries protect your heart, even with family. Quiet hearts hold powerful dreams. Every step builds a life of purpose. A love sees you. True family values your presence, not just your gifts. It's never too late. At any age, you can claim your story and live boldly. Many of us have put others first, only to feel overlooked. Isabel teaches that loving yourself doesn't diminish your role as a parent, sibling, or friend. Your heart matters, even if no one saw it shine. Discussion questions. Have you ever felt invisible in your family or work? How did you find your light? How do you balance giving to others with nurturing your dreams? What's one moment you're proud of, even if no one else noticed?